Mary Magdalene, her name echoes through history, whispered in hushed tones and debated in hallowed halls. She is a figure shrouded in mystery, her story told and retold through the lens of centuries. For many, she is the repentant sinner, forever linked to the act of washing Jesus' feet with her tears. Yet this image, so ingrained in religious iconography, may be a far cry from the truth. The real Mary Magdalene, as we are beginning to discover, was a woman of strength, faith, and unwavering devotion to Jesus. Her story is one of stark contrasts. We see her at the foot of the cross, overcome with grief as her beloved teacher is crucified. We witness her unwavering loyalty as she remains at the tomb, the first to encounter the risen Christ. These glimpses into her life hint at a woman of deep faith, a woman who played a pivotal role in the early Jesus movement. But how did this image of a devoted disciple become intertwined with that of a repentant sinner? The answer, it seems, lies buried beneath centuries of church tradition, a tradition that often marginalized the role of women in positions of religious authority. It is time to delve into the life of Mary Magdalene, to sift through the layers of tradition and uncover the truth about this enigmatic woman. Her story, once lost in the shadows of history, is finally being brought to light, revealing a disciple who walked alongside Jesus, a woman of influence and unwavering faith. It is a story that challenges our preconceived notions and forces us to confront the ways in which history has been shaped and often distorted by the passage of time. Mary Magdalene's story is often reduced to a single defining act, the washing of Jesus' feet. This act, often interpreted as an expression of repentance for her sins, has come to overshadow the complexity of her character and her significant contributions to the early Christian movement. But Mary Magdalene was more than just a repentant sinner. She was a devoted follower of Jesus, a witness to his ministry, his death, and his resurrection. Her presence throughout the Gospels is undeniable. We see her among the women who followed Jesus and supported his ministry. She is there at the crucifixion, her heart breaking as she watches her beloved teacher suffer. And it is Mary Magdalene who is chosen to be the first witness to the resurrection, a testament to her unwavering faith. Yet, despite her clear importance in the Gospel narratives, Mary Magdalene's story has been clouded by centuries of misinterpretation. The label of sinner, so readily attached to her name, has served to diminish her role and obscure her true legacy. This misconception, perpetuated through art, literature, and religious teachings, has created a distorted image of Mary Magdalene that persists even today. To understand the real Mary Magdalene, we must look beyond the simplistic label of sinner. We must examine the historical context in which she lived, a time when women were often relegated to the margins of society. We must delve into the scriptures, separating fact from fiction, and seeking to understand the true nature of her relationship with Jesus. Only then can we begin to appreciate the depth and complexity of this remarkable woman's life. The image of Mary Magdalene as a repentant prostitute, though widely accepted, has no real basis in biblical text. This misconception, it seems, emerged centuries after the Gospels were written, fueled by a confluence of cultural biases and a desire to control the narrative of early Christianity. During the early centuries of the Church, as Christianity spread throughout the Roman Empire, the role of women in leadership positions came under increasing scrutiny. The once celebrated contributions of women like Mary Magdalene, who preached and baptized alongside her male counterparts, were gradually downplayed or erased entirely. The Church, increasingly dominated by men, sought to establish a hierarchy that placed women firmly in subordinate roles. In this climate of patriarchal control, Mary Magdalene's story was ripe for reinterpretation. Her close relationship with Jesus, her unwavering devotion, and her prominent role in the resurrection narratives posed a threat to the emerging power structure. It was easier, it seemed, to cast her as a repentant sinner, a woman redeemed by Christ's love, than to acknowledge her as a powerful and influential figure in her own right. The consequences of this historical revisionism have been profound. Mary Magdalene's story, once a testament to the power of faith and the equality found in Christ, became a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of female sexuality and the importance of female submission. It is a distortion that has lingered for centuries, shaping our understanding of this remarkable woman and obscuring her true legacy as a leader, a disciple, and a pivotal figure in the birth of Christianity. To truly comprehend the life and legacy of Mary Magdalene, we must first journey back to first-century Palestine, a time and place vastly different from our own. The world in which Mary Magdalene lived was one of Roman occupation, a time of political unrest and religious fervor. Jewish society, while deeply rooted in tradition, was grappling with the complexities of Roman rule and the rise of various messianic movements. It was against this backdrop of social and political upheaval that Jesus of Nazareth emerged, preaching a message of love, forgiveness, and the coming kingdom of God. His teachings, radical in their simplicity and inclusivity, drew followers from all walks of life, men and women alike, who were captivated by his message and inspired by his miracles. Among these followers was Mary Magdalene, a woman whose life would become inextricably linked with that of Jesus. To understand her story, we must first understand the world in which she lived. A world on the cusp of change, a world ripe for the transformative message of Jesus. It is within this historical context, amidst the turmoil and uncertainty of first-century Palestine, that we must begin to piece together the life of Mary Magdalene. Her story is not merely a biblical account, it is a human story woven into the fabric of a particular time and place. By understanding the social, political, and religious climate of her era, we can begin to appreciate the complexities of her life and the significance of her role within the Jesus movement. Mary Magdalene's name itself offers a glimpse into her origins. She is referred to as Mary Magdalene, indicating she hailed from the town of Magdala, a bustling fishing village on the shores of the Sea of Galilee. Magdala, known in Hebrew as Migdal, was more than just a humble fishing town. It was a center of commerce and trade, a place where cultures intersected and ideas were exchanged. Located on a major trade route connecting Damascus to the Mediterranean coast, Magdala was a melting pot of cultures and religions. Jewish fishermen cast their nets alongside Roman merchants, while Greek philosophers debated the finer points of life in the bustling marketplace. This vibrant mix of cultures undoubtedly shaped Mary Magdalene's worldview and exposed her to a diversity of perspectives. Unlike many women of her time, Mary Magdalene was likely literate and financially independent. Inscriptions found in Magdala suggest that women played an active role in the town's economic and social life. It is not unreasonable to assume that Mary Magdalene, hailing from such a progressive community, enjoyed a degree of autonomy uncommon for women in that era. This image of Mary Magdalene as a woman of some means and education challenges the traditional portrayal of her as a repentant sinner. Her origins in Magdala suggest a woman who was not defined by her past, but rather empowered by her experiences and equipped to take on a leadership role within the Jesus movement. The common misconception of Mary Magdalene as a prostitute finds no explicit support in the biblical texts. This interpretation, propagated centuries later, seems to stem from a misreading of Luke chapter 7, verses 36 to 50, where an unnamed sinful woman anoints Jesus' feet. However, this woman is never identified as Mary Magdalene, and conflating the two figures does a disservice to both their stories. This misinterpretation reflects a broader tendency to impose patriarchal interpretations onto biblical narratives. Throughout history, women in positions of power or influence have often been subjected to slander and misrepresentation, their stories twisted to fit prevailing social norms. Mary Magdalene's close relationship with Jesus, her presence at his crucifixion and resurrection, challenged traditional gender roles and made her an easy target for such mischaracterizations. It is imperative to approach these ancient texts with a critical eye, recognizing the cultural biases and historical baggage that have often colored our understanding of them. The burden of proof lies not in disproving Mary Magdalene's supposed sinfulness, but rather in providing credible evidence to support such a claim, evidence that is simply absent from the biblical accounts. By challenging these long-held assumptions and examining the scriptures through a more objective lens, we can begin to reconstruct a more accurate and nuanced portrait of Mary Magdalene, one that acknowledges her humanity, her complexity, and her undeniable significance in the early Christian tradition. To fully grasp the impact of Mary Magdalene's life, we must consider the geographical context in which her story unfolds. The Sea of Galilee, the backdrop for much of Jesus' ministry, was more than just a scenic location. It was a place imbued with religious and political significance. This region, known for its fertile land and abundant fishing, was also a hotbed of messianic expectation. The people living around the Sea of Galilee yearned for a leader who would liberate them from Roman oppression and usher in a new era of peace and prosperity. It was in this charged atmosphere that Jesus began his ministry, attracting followers drawn to his message of hope and renewal. Mary Magdalene, hailing from the lakeside town of Magdala, would have been intimately familiar with the rhythms of life in this region. The Sea of Galilee, with its ever-changing moods and breathtaking beauty, would have been a constant presence in her life, a source of sustenance and a place of spiritual resonance. It is against this backdrop, amidst the sights and sounds of her homeland, that Mary Magdalene encountered Jesus and dedicated her life to his teachings. The Sea of Galilee, a place of both turmoil and tranquility, witnessed her transformation from a woman of Magdala into a devoted disciple and a pillar of the early Christian community. The transformation of Mary Magdalene's image from devoted disciple to repentant sinner is a tale woven through centuries, a testament to the shifting sands of interpretation and the often unseen hands that shape historical narratives. To fully grasp the roots of this misconception, we must journey back to the early centuries of Christianity, a period of immense growth and internal struggle for the nascent faith. As Christianity spread beyond its Jewish roots and into the diverse tapestry of the Roman Empire, it encountered a world grappling with its own complex social structures and deeply ingrained prejudices. Within this evolving landscape, the role of women, particularly in positions of religious authority, became a subject of debate and ultimately a casualty of shifting power dynamics. The early church, initially marked by a more egalitarian spirit, gradually adopted the patriarchal norms of the Roman world. As the church solidified its structure and sought recognition within the Roman Empire, the voices and contributions of women were increasingly silenced or relegated to the margins. It is within this context of cultural assimilation and the consolidation of male authority that the seeds of misunderstanding regarding Mary Magdalene were sown. Her close relationship with Jesus, her prominence as a witness to the resurrection, and her active role in the early Christian community challenged the emerging patriarchal hierarchy and made her vulnerable to misinterpretation. The association of Mary Magdalene with the unnamed sinful woman in Luke's Gospel, though lacking any textual basis, took root in the sermons and writings of influential church fathers like Pope Gregory I in the 6th century. By conflating these distinct figures, Gregory solidified a narrative that cast Mary Magdalene as a redeemed sinner, forever marked by her past transgressions. This interpretation, while convenient for a church seeking to reinforce traditional gender roles and downplay the leadership of women, ignored the nuances of the biblical accounts and the historical context in which they were written. The Gospels, while offering glimpses into Mary Magdalene's life, never explicitly identify her as a prostitute or a woman of ill repute. The power of Gregory's interpretation lay not in its accuracy, but in its ability to resonate with a society steeped in patriarchal norms. The image of a fallen woman redeemed by Christ's love served as a potent symbol for the Church's message of salvation, while simultaneously reinforcing the notion of female weakness and the need for male guidance. This mischaracterization, once established, proved remarkably persistent. It found its way into art, literature, and popular imagination, shaping centuries of Christian thought and cementing Mary Magdalene's image as a repentant sinner, rather than the influential leader she truly was. The consequences of this historical revisionism extend far beyond Mary Magdalene's individual story. By casting her as a repentant sinner, the Church effectively silenced a powerful female voice within the early Christian movement, a voice that had preached, baptized, and witnessed the resurrection alongside her male counterparts. The Gospels portray Mary Magdalene as a woman of unwavering faith and remarkable resilience. She stood at the foot of the cross as Jesus suffered, a testament to her courage and devotion. She was the first to witness the empty tomb and encounter the risen Christ, a pivotal moment in the Christian narrative. Yet these acts of faith and leadership were overshadowed by the label of sinner, a label that diminished her contributions and reinforced the notion that women, even within the fledgling Christian community, were defined by their perceived moral failings. This silencing of Mary Magdalene's true story reflects a broader pattern within history where the voices of women in positions of authority or influence are often marginalized or erased entirely. The suppression of Mary Magdalene's leadership role had a chilling effect on the role of women within the Church for centuries. It contributed to a culture of exclusion that denied women equal opportunities for ministry and leadership, limiting their participation in shaping the future of the very faith they helped to build. In recent decades, there has been a growing movement among scholars, theologians, and lay Christians alike to reclaim Mary Magdalene's true story, to peel back the layers of misinterpretation and recognize her as the influential disciple she undoubtedly was. This reclaiming of her narrative is not merely an academic exercise, it is a vital step towards dismantling centuries of patriarchy and recognizing the essential role of women in the life of the Church. Modern biblical scholarship, coupled with archaeological discoveries and a deeper understanding of the social and cultural context of first-century Palestine, has shed new light on Mary Magdalene's life and legacy. These insights challenge the traditional interpretations and invite us to encounter Mary Magdalene anew, not as a repentant sinner, but as a woman of strength, faith, and unwavering devotion to Jesus. The journey towards fully restoring Mary Magdalene's rightful place within Christian history is ongoing. It requires a willingness to confront long-held biases, to engage in honest dialogue, and to listen attentively to the voices that have been silenced for far too long. Reclaiming Mary Magdalene's story is not about rewriting history, but rather about reading it with fresh eyes, recognizing the biases that have shaped our understanding, and embracing a more inclusive and equitable vision of the Christian faith, a vision that honors the contributions of all who have answered Christ's call to discipleship. In the realm of contemporary biblical scholarship, a seismic shift has occurred in our understanding of Mary Magdalene. No longer relegated to the footnotes of history or confined to the simplistic image of a repentant sinner, she has emerged as a figure of immense intrigue and theological significance. This reassessment, fueled by rigorous textual analysis, archaeological discoveries, and a growing awareness of the cultural biases that have shaped biblical interpretation, has breathed new life into the quest to uncover the true Mary Magdalene. Gone are the days when scholarly discourse centered solely on her alleged past as a prostitute, a claim, as we have seen, rooted more in tradition than in textual evidence. Modern scholars, equipped with a more nuanced understanding of the social and religious dynamics of first-century Palestine, have begun to deconstruct these harmful stereotypes, recognizing them as products of a later patriarchal lens imposed upon the gospel narratives. This shift in perspective has opened up exciting new avenues of inquiry. Scholars are now delving deeper into Mary Magdalene's role as a disciple, a witness to Jesus' ministry, death, and resurrection, and a prominent figure in the fledgling Christian community. Her presence throughout the Gospels, often alongside Jesus' male disciples, speaks volumes about her standing within the movement and challenges traditional assumptions about the role of women in early Christianity. This modern reassessment of Mary Magdalene represents a crucial step towards a more inclusive and accurate understanding of the origins of Christianity. By moving beyond the distortions of history and engaging with the biblical texts in a more critical and nuanced manner, we can begin to appreciate the full breadth of her contributions and the profound impact she had on the shaping of the Christian faith. Central to the modern scholarly reassessment of Mary Magdalene is the dismantling of the long-held sinful woman trope that has clung to her image for centuries. This misconception, as we have explored, stems largely from a conflation of Mary Magdalene with the unnamed woman who anoints Jesus' feet in Luke's Gospel, an association made not on textual grounds but rather through the pronouncements of later church authorities, seeking to reinforce patriarchal norms. Contemporary scholars, however, approaching the biblical texts with a more critical and contextualized lens, have highlighted the lack of evidence to support this conflation. The Gospels, while offering glimpses into Mary Magdalene's life, never explicitly identify her as a prostitute or a woman of ill repute. Her association with sinfulness appears to be a later imposition, a product of a time when women's sexuality was often viewed through a lens of suspicion and judgment. This deconstruction of the sinful woman trope is not merely an act of historical revisionism, it is a necessary corrective to centuries of misrepresentation that have cast a shadow over Mary Magdalene's true legacy. By separating her story from these unfounded associations, scholars have created space for a more nuanced and accurate understanding of her role within the Jesus movement. This shift in perspective allows us to encounter Mary Magdalene anew, not as a figure defined by her alleged past transgressions, but as a devoted disciple, a courageous witness, and a prominent leader in the early Christian community. It is a testament to the power of critical scholarship to challenge long-held assumptions and to recover the voices of those who have been marginalized throughout history. Freed from the constraints of the sinful woman stereotype, modern scholarship has begun to explore Mary Magdalene's role as a prominent leader within the early Jesus movement. The Gospels portray her as a constant presence throughout Jesus' ministry, witnessing his miracles, listening to his teachings, and offering unwavering support even in the face of danger and persecution. Her presence at the Crucifixion, a testament to her courage and devotion, is particularly noteworthy. While many of Jesus' male disciples fled in fear, Mary Magdalene remained at the foot of the cross, sharing in his suffering and bearing witness to his final moments. This act of unwavering loyalty speaks volumes about her deep faith and her central role within the circle of Jesus' closest followers. Moreover, Mary Magdalene's designation as the Apostle to the Apostles, a title bestowed upon her by early church fathers, highlights her unique position within the early Christian community. She was chosen by the risen Christ to be the first witness to the resurrection, a pivotal event upon which the entire Christian faith hinges. Her testimony, initially met with skepticism by the male disciples, ultimately became the cornerstone of their belief, demonstrating the profound trust Jesus placed in her. This understanding of Mary Magdalene as an apostle and a leader within the early church challenges traditional hierarchies and sheds light on a more inclusive and egalitarian vision of early Christianity, a vision that recognized and valued the leadership of women alongside men. While significant strides have been made in reclaiming Mary Magdalene's true story, the quest for a fuller picture of her life and legacy remains an ongoing endeavor. The Gospels, while offering valuable glimpses into her character and her relationship with Jesus, ultimately provide only fragments of her story. Much of her life, like that of many women in antiquity, remains shrouded in the mists of time. Despite these limitations, scholars continue to piece together the puzzle of Mary Magdalene's life, drawing upon a wide range of sources, including apocryphal texts, archaeological findings, and comparative studies of early Christian communities. The discovery of texts, like the Gospel of Mary, though not included in the Canonical Bible, offers tantalizing insights into alternative Christian traditions that placed Mary Magdalene in a position of prominence, portraying her as a recipient of special revelations from the risen Christ and a teacher of wisdom within the early church. Furthermore, the ongoing archaeological work in Magdala, her hometown, continues to unearth new discoveries that shed light on the social and economic context of her life challenging traditional assumptions and offering a more nuanced understanding of her background and her world. The quest to uncover the full story of Mary Magdalene is a testament to the enduring power of her legacy. It is a journey fueled by a desire to do justice to her memory, to recognize her contributions, and to learn from her example of unwavering faith, courageous leadership, and unwavering devotion to the message of Jesus Christ. It is a journey that continues to inspire scholars, theologians, and believers alike to delve deeper into the rich tapestry of early Christianity and to embrace a more inclusive and empowering vision of the Christian faith. Mary Magdalene stands out among Jesus' followers, her name echoing through the Gospels as a constant presence in his ministry. Unlike many women of her time, confined by societal expectations to the domestic sphere, Mary Magdalene traversed the dusty roads of Galilee alongside Jesus and his disciples, actively participating in the unfolding drama of his ministry. The Gospels depict her not as a passive observer, but as an engaged learner, absorbing Jesus' teachings, witnessing his miracles, and engaging in theological discussions. She is present at key moments, her name often listed among the 12 disciples, demonstrating her integral role within the group. This close association with Jesus, both in private and public settings, suggests a depth of relationship that transcended the societal norms of the time. Furthermore, Mary Magdalene is depicted as a woman of substantial means, financially supporting Jesus' ministry alongside other women who followed him. This act of generosity, noted in Luke's Gospel, highlights her independence and her commitment to furthering Jesus' message, challenging the traditional image of women as solely reliant on men for financial stability. She emerges as a woman of agency, using her resources to contribute to a movement she believed in deeply. This image of Mary Magdalene as an active and valued member of Jesus' inner circle disrupts the narrative of female subordination often imposed upon the Gospel accounts. She emerges not as a silent figure relegated to the background, but as a vital participant in the unfolding story of Jesus' ministry, her presence a testament to the inclusive nature of his message and his willingness to challenge societal norms by embracing the leadership and contributions of women. As Jesus faced his darkest hour, betrayed and abandoned by many, Mary Magdalene's unwavering loyalty shone through. While the Gospels describe most of the male disciples scattering in fear, she remained steadfast, standing at the foot of the cross as Jesus endured the agony of crucifixion. This act of courage, a testament to her deep love and devotion, placed her at the very heart of the Christian story, a witness to its most pivotal and tragic moment. Her presence at the crucifixion was not merely that of a passive observer overcome with grief, it was an act of defiance against the forces that sought to silence Jesus' message. By standing firm in her belief, even as others faltered, she embodied the very essence of discipleship, proving her commitment even in the face of unimaginable suffering. But Mary Magdalene's story does not end at the cross. The Gospels, in a remarkable affirmation of her faith and her unique connection to Jesus, cast her as the first witness to the resurrection. It is she who discovers the empty tomb, who encounters the risen Christ, and who is entrusted with the momentous task of proclaiming this news to the other disciples. This pivotal role, bestowed upon her by Jesus himself, elevates Mary Magdalene to a position of extraordinary significance within the Christian narrative. This profound encounter with the resurrected Christ transformed Mary Magdalene from a grieving follower into a bold proclaimer of the good news. She becomes, in essence, the apostle to the apostles, entrusted with the very foundation of the Christian faith, the belief in Jesus' victory over death and the promise of new life. This pivotal role, often overlooked or downplayed throughout history, underscores Mary Magdalene's central place within the Christian story and challenges traditional interpretations that seek to diminish her contributions. Mary Magdalene's designation as the apostle to the apostles is not merely a symbolic title. It reflects a deeper theological truth about the nature of leadership within the early church, a truth often obscured by centuries of patriarchal interpretation. Her commissioning by the risen Christ to proclaim the good news of the resurrection stands as a radical affirmation of women's capacity for spiritual authority and leadership within the nascent Christian movement. This act challenged the prevailing social norms of the time, which largely relegated women to subordinate roles within religious and social structures. By entrusting Mary Magdalene with such a pivotal task, Jesus demonstrated his willingness to subvert these expectations and to recognize the spiritual gifts and leadership potential inherent in all people, regardless of gender. Furthermore, the Gospels depict Mary Magdalene as a woman of unwavering faith, even in the face of doubt and skepticism from Jesus' male disciples. Her testimony regarding the resurrection, initially met with disbelief, ultimately became the cornerstone of their faith, highlighting the transformative power of her witness and the authority she carried as a recipient of Christ's revelation. This challenge to apostolic norms posed by Mary Magdalene's leadership continues to resonate within the Church today. Her story serves as a poignant reminder that the call to discipleship and the bestowal of spiritual gifts are not bound by gender or social standing. It is a call to recognize and affirm the diverse gifts present within the body of Christ, and to embrace a more inclusive and equitable vision of leadership within the Church, a vision that reflects the radical inclusivity modeled by Jesus himself. The ongoing rediscovery of Mary Magdalene's true story is not merely an academic exercise, it is a transformative movement within Christianity, prompting a much-needed reassessment of women's roles and contributions throughout church history. As we peel back the layers of misinterpretation and reclaim her legacy as an apostle, a leader, and a beloved disciple of Jesus, we open up new possibilities for understanding the origins of the Christian faith and for shaping a more just and equitable future for the Church. Mary Magdalene's story reminds us that the Christian message has always been one of radical inclusivity, a message that transcends human constructs of power and privilege. By embracing her leadership and honoring her witness, we move closer to realizing the full potential of the gospel, a gospel that proclaims liberation for all people, regardless of gender, social standing, or past mistakes. Furthermore, her story serves as a powerful antidote to the patriarchal interpretations that have often dominated Christian thought and practice. By reclaiming the voices of women like Mary Magdalene, who have been marginalized or silenced throughout history, we enrich our understanding of the faith and create space for a more diverse and representative expression of Christian identity. The journey towards fully integrating Mary Magdalene's legacy into the fabric of Christian tradition is ongoing. It requires a willingness to confront uncomfortable truths about the Church's past, to challenge ingrained biases, and to embrace a more expansive vision of Christian leadership, a vision that recognizes and affirms the gifts of all who are called by Christ. It is a journey that holds the potential to transform not only our understanding of the past, but also our vision for the future of the Church, a future where the voices of all are heard, valued, and empowered to share in the ministry of reconciliation and love inaugurated by Jesus Christ. While the four canonical Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, form the cornerstone of our understanding of Jesus' life and teachings, they represent just a fraction of the early Christian writings that circulated in the centuries following Jesus' death. These non-canonical texts, often referred to as apocryphal Gospels, offer alternative perspectives on Jesus and his followers, providing valuable insights into the diversity of early Christian beliefs and practices. Among these apocryphal texts, the Gospel of Mary and the Acts of Philip stand out for their unique portrayals of Mary Magdalene. These texts, though not included in the official canon of the New Testament, offer tantalizing glimpses into early Christian communities that held Mary Magdalene in high esteem, recognizing her as a prominent leader, a trusted confidant of Jesus, and a recipient of special revelations. These texts challenge the traditional, often patriarchal interpretations of Mary Magdalene's role, presenting her not as a repentant sinner, but as a wise teacher, a courageous preacher, and a pillar of the early Church. While these texts may not carry the same weight of authority as the canonical Gospels, they offer invaluable insights into the diversity of early Christian thought and the contested nature of early church history. Examining these non-canonical texts alongside the canonical Gospels allows for a richer and more nuanced understanding of Mary Magdalene's life and legacy. These texts, often overlooked or dismissed as heretical, provide crucial missing pieces to the puzzle of her story, revealing the profound respect and admiration she garnered within certain branches of early Christianity. The Gospel of Mary, a fragmentary text discovered in the late 19th century, offers a particularly compelling glimpse into Gnostic Christianity, a branch of early Christianity that emphasized spiritual knowledge, or gnosis, as the path to salvation. This text, believed to have been written in the 2nd century, portrays Mary Magdalene as a prominent disciple, entrusted by the risen Christ with secret teachings and spiritual insights. In this gospel, Mary Magdalene emerges as a source of wisdom and authority, comforting the other disciples after Jesus' ascension and sharing the profound revelations she received from the risen Christ. This portrayal stands in stark contrast to the traditional image of Mary Magdalene as a repentant sinner, highlighting the diversity of early Christian beliefs and the elevated status she held within certain communities. The Gospel of Mary also challenges traditional notions of apostolic authority. While the canonical Gospels focus primarily on the male disciples, this text places Mary Magdalene at the center, depicting her as a recipient of special knowledge and a teacher in her own right. This emphasis on spiritual insight over institutional power reflects the core tenets of Gnostic Christianity, which often challenged the emerging hierarchies within the early church. Though only partially preserved, the Gospel of Mary offers a tantalizing glimpse into an early Christian tradition that recognized and celebrated the leadership of women. It is a testament to the diversity of early Christian thought and the contested nature of early church history, a history often rewritten through the lens of later theological and social agendas. Another non-canonical text that sheds light on Mary Magdalene's prominent role in early Christianity is the Acts of Philip. This text, believed to have originated in the 4th or 5th century, presents a more romanticized and legendary account of Philip the Apostle's missionary journeys, with Mary Magdalene often by his side as a fellow preacher and miracle worker. In the Acts of Philip, Mary Magdalene is depicted as a powerful evangelist, fearlessly proclaiming the gospel message in the face of opposition and persecution. She is shown healing the sick, casting out demons, and engaging in theological debates with learned men, demonstrating her spiritual authority and her unwavering commitment to spreading the Christian message. This portrayal of Mary Magdalene as an apostolic companion, working alongside Philip to establish churches and convert unbelievers, challenges the traditional view of women as passive followers within the early church. The Acts of Philip, though often dismissed as fanciful, reflects a persistent tradition that recognized and celebrated the leadership of women within certain Christian communities. This text, while not without its legendary embellishments, highlights the enduring legacy of Mary Magdalene as a powerful and influential figure within early Christianity. Her story, as presented in the Acts of Philip, continues to inspire and challenge believers today, reminding us of the transformative power of the gospel message and the importance of embracing the gifts and leadership potential of all people, regardless of gender or social standing. While the Gospel of Mary and the Acts of Philip offer compelling glimpses into alternative Christian traditions that revered Mary Magdalene, it is important to acknowledge the limitations of relying solely on non-canonical texts. These texts, often fragmentary and subject to various interpretations, must be approached with a critical eye, recognizing their historical and theological complexities. Nonetheless, these texts, when examined alongside the canonical Gospels and other historical sources, provide valuable insights into the diversity of early Christian beliefs and practices. They challenge us to move beyond simplistic interpretations of the past and to embrace the richness and complexity of the early church, a movement that encompassed a wide range of views on the role of women, the nature of authority, and the path to salvation. Despite their fragmentary nature, these texts bear witness to the enduring legacy of Mary Magdalene as a figure of immense significance within early Christianity. Her story, though often obscured or distorted throughout history, continues to resonate with believers today, inspiring us to delve deeper into the mysteries of faith, to challenge unjust power structures, and to embrace a more inclusive and equitable vision of the Christian community. The ongoing exploration of these non-canonical texts, coupled with continued archaeological discoveries and a more nuanced understanding of the social and cultural context of first-century Palestine, promises to further illuminate the life and legacy of Mary Magdalene, revealing the profound impact she had on the shaping of the Christian faith and inspiring us to live out the gospel message with the same courage, compassion, and unwavering devotion that she embodied. The journey through the life of Mary Magdalene has taken us far beyond the simplistic image of a repentant sinner, an image imposed upon her by centuries of misinterpretation and patriarchal bias. We have delved into the historical context of her time, explored the nuances of the biblical texts, and unearthed compelling evidence from both canonical and non-canonical sources, all pointing to a far more complex and inspiring figure. Mary Magdalene emerges from this exploration as a woman of strength, faith, and unwavering devotion to Jesus. She was a prominent disciple, present throughout Jesus' ministry, a witness to his crucifixion and the first to encounter the risen Christ. Her role as the apostle to the apostles entrusted with proclaiming the good news of the resurrection speaks volumes about the trust Jesus placed in her and the central role she played in the nascent Christian movement. Yet her story is also a cautionary tale, a reminder of how easily history can be rewritten to fit prevailing social and theological agendas. The mischaracterization of Mary Magdalene as a repentant prostitute while lacking any textual basis in the Gospel served to silence her powerful voice and to reinforce patriarchal structures within the Church. It is time to restore Mary Magdalene to her rightful place in Christian history, not as a symbol of female sinfulness, but as an exemplar of discipleship, courage, and unwavering faith. By reclaiming her true story, we honor her legacy and challenge the harmful stereotypes that have kept women's voices marginalized within the Church for far too long. Mary Magdalene's legacy extends far beyond the label of sinner that has clung to her for centuries. Her story speaks to the heart of the Christian message, a message of radical inclusivity, unwavering love, and the transformative power of faith. She embodies the idea that true discipleship knows no bounds of gender, social standing, or past mistakes. Her unwavering devotion to Jesus, even in the face of persecution and death, serves as an inspiration to believers of all generations. She reminds us that faith is not a passive acceptance of dogma, but an active engagement with the living God, a willingness to walk alongside Jesus even when the path leads through darkness and uncertainty. Moreover, Mary Magdalene's story challenges the Church to confront its own history of sexism and exclusion. Her marginalization within the Christian tradition stands as a stark reminder of the ways in which power dynamics and cultural biases can distort the gospel message and silence the voices of those deemed less worthy. By embracing Mary Magdalene's true legacy, we commit ourselves to creating a church that reflects the radical inclusivity modeled by Jesus himself, a church where all are welcomed, valued, and empowered to share their gifts in service to God and neighbor. As we conclude our exploration of Mary Magdalene's life and legacy, we are left with a profound sense of her enduring message, a message that continues to resonate across the centuries, challenging us to live out our faith with greater courage, compassion, and commitment. Mary Magdalene's story reminds us that true discipleship requires unwavering devotion even in the face of adversity. She stood by Jesus when others fled, her love undeterred by the looming shadow of the cross. Her example challenges us to examine our own commitment to Christ, to ask ourselves whether we are willing to stand firm in our faith even when it is costly, even when it means challenging the status quo, even when it means standing alone. Moreover, Mary Magdalene's story is a testament to the transformative power of encountering the risen Christ. Her grief turned to joy, her fear to unwavering faith, as she became the first witness to the resurrection, entrusted with proclaiming the good news that would change the world. Her experience reminds us that the Christian faith is not merely a set of beliefs, but a lived experience of encountering the living God, an experience that has the power to shatter our preconceived notions, heal our deepest wounds, and empower us to live lives of purpose and meaning. Mary Magdalene's message is a call to action, an invitation to embrace the fullness of our faith, to live lives of courage, compassion, and unwavering devotion to the gospel message. It is a message that continues to inspire, challenge, and transform us, reminding us that we are all called to be apostles of Christ's love, proclaiming the good news of hope and redemption in a world desperately in need of healing and reconciliation. May we, like Mary Magdalene, answer that call with open hearts and unwavering faith, becoming beacons of light in the darkness and agents of God's transformative love in the world.